look at, the next stage. After we've managed to look at the online advertising and promotions and getting people back into the game, what can we do to look at other avenues and maybe start to create football into traditional retail channels? Is that a good summary?
Right. Yep.
I'll let you talk all about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Oscar. Nice to see everyone here today. I'm Iryna. I had marketing at Ziggy, and Ziggy is a company that found a way to basically address the problem of user retention and game monetization on mobile with just one tool, a new type of in-game sponsorships. And actually, by the way, just went live 3 weeks ago with our partners Angry Birds and McDonald's in China, so you guys can check it out right away. But let's start from the start. And Ziggy is a team of location, mobile, and advertising experts. And when we were stepping into this business about 2 years ago, we knew the space is overcrowded, and we knew if we wanted to stand out and succeed, we needed to do something revolutionary, basically. And we chose a pretty straightforward approach. We just went out to people who we were going to serve and asked what their problems were and what their needs were. So as a team, we together, and I personally talked to over 200 most successful game developers globally about what they do on mobile, what the challenges are, how they're addressing it, what's working, what's not. At the same time, we were establishing relationships with retail brands. We were asking about their mobile advertising efforts and basically heard a lot more about failures than about successes. We learned about that. And then at the same time, of course, we talked to users, someone who everyone's trying to please and make money off. So we spoke about their mobile gaming habits, how they like to play, where they like to play, and at the end we combined it all and came up with a solution I'm going to show you guys today. It's pretty exciting. In this presentation, we will cover such things. I will tell you how developers can increase retention by giving non-paying users access to virtual goods for free. I will tell you how you can monetize the non-paying users when they do stuff they do already every day, go into the stores, go into the restaurants, and how you can get access to huge mobile retail advertising budgets that for very simple reasons have been unavailable to game developers until now. So I guess we can start from the obvious. We probably all know that mobile gaming is moving from premium to freemium. So games used to be sold, now they are available mostly for free, and there is stuff sold in the games. The reason is simple. If you make your game free, you get pretty much 10 times as many users. That's great news, right? But the bad news is that the majority of the huge amount of users you get, they don't stay and they don't pay any money in the games. Actually, we know from Flurry and other data providers that 40% of users leave in about the first 30 days from after downloading the game. That's actually disastrous, especially for developers who invested money into user acquisition. And they still try to make money off the users they have. They work really hard. They create game mechanics that drive people to want to buy virtual goods. And sometimes they overdo it and pressure people to the point of actually abandoning the game. So basically imagine these excited users. They love your game, they download your game, they get to it, and then they see that most of stuff is limited and they can do only this and that without paying. A lot of them get disappointed and just move on to the other game. There are developers who don't do that. They rely on advertising, and then they just, come up with different kinds of tricks of how you make people click more, and sometimes even make banners like hard to avoid. You can skip them and everything. That's the other way. But guess what? Users get annoyed and they leave again. Of course, there are those who are they're ready to spend money in games. They're about 2 to 3% of them. They buy virtual goods, they love the game, they get full experience, and they play and stay. Developers like to call them whales, and that's the favorite part of users. But it's just 2 to 3% usually. And these guys, there is a problem. What to do with the rest? We just heard a presentation about general advertising. There are lots of solutions, and I'm going to tell you about something that hasn't been done before. Do we know that freemium really works for developers? That's something that everyone's moving towards, but is it really working? Is it working in terms of retention? Is it working in terms of monetization? Well, for clearly, lots of money are left out on the table. We know that the number of mobile sessions have grown about 10 times since between 2010 and 2012. At the same time, the growth in mobile revenue has been only 3 times. Huge gap, right? We wanted to address that. Basically, the solution is to stop leaving money on the table and stop losing users. How do you do that? Lots of developers focus on whales, who I already mentioned before, people who play game most, who buy stuff in the game, 2 to 3% usually. These people bring most of the revenue. If you use location-based sponsorships, which I will tell you about a little bit later, you can at least double or triple the number of users who get access to in-game items, therefore get full experience of the game, enjoy the game more, and they stay. So you basically solve the retention problem with these guys as well. And then obviously there will be another 90-something% of users who can still be monetized with ads, with banner ads. But if you use the combination of different models, you don't have to pressure a person to view the app, to buy something. They have a choice. So basically, the monetization model has to be respectful to the overall game experience of the user. That's what we've been working on over the last 2 years. And now finally, the interesting part, how this all works. You can see a game. It's a casual game, just a level-based game, Trappist Heroes. And whenever, you can imagine any other game on this place, whenever a game has a Ziggy SDK integrated into it, it's a location-based, right? So it's going to monitor the location of your user every time he or she plays the game and look for Ziggy spots nearby. So are there any shops, are there any restaurants nearby that have something that can be unlocked for a user by just walking there? You can see that there is a little notification in the right bottom corner. It looks like everything else in the game, never looks like a banner. It tells you that there is something more to your game. As soon as the Ziggy SDK and the game discovers that the user plays near a Ziggy spot, they tell you, go into a store, a coffee shop, a pharmacy, anything, and you can get stuff unlocked in the game for free. Well, let's be honest here, we don't expect people to jump up and just cross the city and just go to get a little in-game item for free, but we expect people to fit this naturally into their daily flow of activities. So if they were thinking about getting coffee and there are a few different brands to choose from, they might want to choose this one because there's something the brand gives to them for just being there, stuff like that. And that's really valuable for advertisers. So then the user can click on the thing they see in the game and see a map. You can see where I am and you can see where the Ziggy spots around me are and what you can actually get there. And then the minute the user walks into the retail location, the in-game item, the reward that's available there, gets automatically unlocked. So there is no manual activity, there's no check-in or anything, it just location trigger works. The in-game item gets unlocked and the happy customer gets a new level, a power-up, or character customization, whatever you want to give them for free. Oh, just go back. And at this point, when the customer is already in the store, we give our advertisers an opportunity to address them with a specific promotion if they want to. Basically, it's an optional screen. So it's easier for them to convince someone to buy things when they're already so close to the point of sale system. And this can be anything from introducing a new product to offering a discount for a product or downloading a mobile app. This is as simple as it is, pretty much. That's how it works. Pretty cool, right? I like it. But now let's talk a bit more about money. In advertising, so far, all the fishing have been done in the wrong small pool, pretty much. All the mobile banner advertising budgets have been coming from e-commerce, so people trying to get you to buy something online or on mobile. And this is actually just pretty much 7, at most 10% of the whole marketing budgets globally. Where is the rest? Why is it not going to the games? Why can't we make money from that? And then with Ziggy, with a solution that gives trackable results, basically we open up these budgets, and retailers, usual like physical stores, the traditional retail, is willing to spend money in games because they know that this is going to drive people directly to their stores. If we look at the numbers on this slide, we see that the size of the traditional advertising is about 15 times as big as e-commerce. Big money. It's about, in the US only, it's over $20 billion annually, and Walmart, Sears, and Targets and others are the advertisers that spend huge money every year on mobile advertising, and big part of that now goes to mobile because there are solutions like Ziggy. Adding to that, so retailers have found a way to drive people to the stores and to be part of the game experience. So basically when we started talking to agencies and brands and we were saying that, do you guys want to be in mobile games? They get excited and they love it, they want to do it, but they're like, yeah, we want to be in games, but how do we ensure that that translates into business results for us? How do we track anything that comes out of it? They used to do campaigns that you place a banner ad and then you kind of hope that people actually went to the store and bought something, and you compare the sales, which is not a very good way to measure the results. With Ziggy, you can actually see when a person saw an ad in the game, when they went to the store, how long they stayed, and if you add an offer, whether they bought something in the game. So we give an opportunity to get people directly in their stores, which is unique right now, and obviously measure the results. How much do you get from that? The size of the payout depends on the type of retailer. For guys like beverage and fast food coffee shops, it's around $1. Supermarkets and restaurants pay about $2 for each person walking to the location, and clothing stores between $3 and $3.5 usually. And mostly that depends on the conversion rates and the density of the locations, and also on the basket size. So for us, it's easier to make person go into a coffee shop than to go to a clothing store, and it's even harder for us to bring a person to the home improvement store. But that happens, and a lot of our clients actually come from that segment, home improvement, which is surprising. And most importantly, why people like this? Why would people do this? Basically, they now get a choice. They get stuff in the game. They get the full experience in the game, all they can possibly get, without paying anything. And they don't have to leave the game because of annoying ads either. This monetization tool, compared to any other available out there, doesn't compromise the user experience. It blends completely into it. We, in particular, work with our developer partners to make sure that this always looks like a part of the game. So it's when we do focus groups and user testing, people, and we ask, what do you think about this type of advertising? People say, what advertising? And they just don't see it as that. They see it as a part of the game experience, another way to get something in their game, which is obviously great. And users get something free in the game, and they can get something free in real life, and we know how much we love free stuff. Developers increase retention by doubling or tripling the number of users who get access to virtual goods and who get full user experience, full game experience, and can enjoy it more and stay longer. Developers monetize the users who would never spend money in the game otherwise. There is just this group of people, like I'm one of them. I'm never going to pull up my credit card, or I'm just never going to buy things in the game, but I'm happily going to do something like walk into my favorite coffee shop. And they get access to the huge retail advertising budgets, which are 10, 15 times bigger than anything else that's offered by banner advertising or offerals out there. To sum up, this new model is pretty much something that's never been available yet. It's pretty simple. It's very like when we present it to both sponsors and developers, everyone says, why has no one thought of this before? But it does open up huge retail marketing budgets. It helps increase user retention. It works just perfectly with other monetization tools. You don't have to choose between offer walls or banner ads or virtual goods and this. And obviously it helps make freemium work better. That's it. Would love to get some questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Any questions? There's a couple of questions at the back. Gentleman in the white top. Oh, there's one right here with the mic already.
Yep, go ahead.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Are you looking for investors?
We're fine with investors, but we are looking for partners right now.
Well, I have two questions as a publisher, as a game developer, right? One is, what is your fill rate on the players, right? However you measure that. And second is, how much am I going to make? How much money am I going to make by using your service in something that I understand, like CPM based or something, you know?
Thank you for the question. Fill rate. Basically, everyone asks about fill rate right away because that's what you guys are used to in terms of advertising. It's something we don't really use because this is campaign-based model. So this is less about fill, but more about ensuring that people always have a place nearby within 3 to 5 blocks to go to and get a reward in the game. And this is something that, so how we measure it if a person playing anywhere in the country can get a reward unlocked within 3 to 5 blocks or 5 to 10 miles around them. If it's an urban area, then the fill that's what we are working towards. And right now, this is what's achieved in US, but we are working on it in Europe. And in terms of, what was the second question? Money. The money depends on the daily active users, basically. The more users you have, the more money you make. We can talk about that more, but it's the more reach you provide to our advertisers. The conversion rates are actually really high, and it's something we can talk more in details. But it's the more users you give us, the more we convert that to revenue. Hope that answers the question.
You did not.
It didn't? We can talk more about that in detail. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, hi. 2 questions. Question number 1, maybe I missed something, but what triggers the payment from the game developers? When customer walks in the store, what triggers the payment? Question number 1. And question number 2, the e-commerce, how we deal with e-commerce where you don't have to walk anywhere?
Okay, so the trigger is, it's a good point, actually, I should have stressed it out more. Whenever the user walks into a location, an SDK has a location trigger, and it goes automatically. So our SDK defines when a person is within the trigger radius. So every store or restaurant that is part of our network has this little trigger radius around it, and once you cross it, it just unlocks automatically, and that's a monetizable event. And in terms of e-commerce, we just pretty much do not work with e-commerce advertisers. We only focus on brick and mortar because this is a unique tool for them. There are a lot of guys who serve e-commerce, and we just don't want to be one of them. Don't need to. Okay. Other questions?
Hi. My question is, what is your projected conversion rate for users who will actually click and go to this location? What is the approximate value?
So actually, this is a good question. We started out by really, before we went live, we started out by having really conservative estimates. We looked at the in-app purchases, we did a lot of analytics and user testing, and we expected to convert from 4 to 6% of the daily active users. I cannot share publicly the results of the first campaigns, but I can only tell you that it's significantly higher than that, a lot higher. And if we want to discuss that more, we can do it confidentially.
Thank you.
There was another question here.
Who is in charge of targeting your banners only to the little fish and not showing them to the big fish?
This is something that we work with developers on. So developer always has the power to decide when to show this and when to not. So we know how much they want to respect the experience of the people who are paying and not cannibalize the sales. And then basically, yeah, it's different in every single case. So we work case by case with the developer. Our UI team and UX team sits down with the developer and decides that.
Two questions connected. First of all, are you the ones selling the deals to the retailers? It seems so, according to what you just answered, the gentleman behind me. Second, what is your geographical spread? I think you mentioned a trial in China, but you will need to cover globally if you want to serve game developers.
Right. So by the end of 2013, this is going to be fully global. To go into the first question, it's our sales team. We have a sales team on the brand side, and they go out to develop the two brands and agencies and make deals and connect and match up with the right games. The important part of this is finding the right games for the right brand, and it has to be confirmed on the both sides. So we match the demographics, we match the theme, and we still want to get an okay from a developer and from a brand to be in this campaign. Right now, this is US, partially Europe, some stuff going on in China, as you heard, and going globally by the end of the year.
What percentage of users can be involved? Because some live on the countryside, playing games on their couch when watching TV in the evening. Do you know how many users can be involved?
Right. So obviously, when we started out, we did a lot of research on how accessible retailers are to users, to players, and where, like, first thing, where do they play and when? And secondly, how many retail locations they have nearby. So it depends country by country, but in the US, for example, up to 90% of the population actually lives within the reach of the retail locations, one of the ones we're working with. So it's basically our problem to make sure that in the countryside we cover the retailers that are only there, and in the cities it's a lot easier for us. But there's always, if you're a person who plays at home only, the high likelihood is that there will be a retail location nearby. Just because we have a team that sells to developers. So basically there is an urban team and there is a team that covers the countryside, and then we just make sure that there is a place for everyone to go to.
And the offers are time limited?
They can be. It depends on the campaign. That's something that the brand decides. If they want to drive person within like the holiday season, it can be like you can only go within the next 2 days, you can go within the next few hours. It's completely depending on the campaign. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you therefore track all your users' movements when they've installed the game for the whole time?
So whenever the game, you open up the game, it asks you for your location, and you have to say okay, and then we can track it all the time.
So you have to be playing the game when you go into the locations, or?
No, not necessarily. It can be running in the background. If there is a push notification, it can be sent to your phone as a push notification. If it's open, it's great. It's going to show. So the UI is dependent on which part. If it's open, it's going to show inside the game. If it's not, it's going to show otherwise.
So we have time for one more question. The gentleman at the back with his hand up the room.
I got just one question. How do you make technologically this Ziggy spot? Is it some hardware or GPS or whatever? Is it installed to the store shop?
Thank you for the question. So this is technologically, it works like this. You integrate an SDK into your game, and then our servers have location technology that determines where the user is. And the Ziggy spot is just basically a radius, and if latitude, longitude, radio, point, and if the server identifies that the person is within this radius, then he or she is in the Ziggy spot and can unlock the stuff. But that's a SDK.
So it could be outside the shop, not necessarily in it.
Sometimes, yes, sometimes you can stand right outside the store, and we make sure to explain to our advertiser that this is a possibility with current technology. And they are fine with it as long as we drive the person all the way to the store.
Well,
Thank you guys for attention.
thank you very much for that.